Today's video is all about meal prepping. I have a ton of awesome recipes in this video for you, and if you're looking for the recipes, they'll be linked in the description box below. But without further ado, let's get started. We've got breakfast, lunch, dinner, everything in between. Okay, so this meal prep was actually really inspired by what I got in my Misfits market box this week. So I've got some arugula, walnuts, some cherry tomatoes, olive oil, some ricotta cheese, ground turkey, goat cheese, and then some dill and some microgreens. So what I'm planning to do is make a bunless turkey burger with a salad with arugula, microgreens, dill, goat cheese, walnuts, and tomatoes. And I actually saw a recipe one time where they added ricotta to turkey burgers in order to keep them moist. So we'll see how well it works. Okay, so I am washing my greens, the arugula and the microgreens and the dill. I've got a nonstick skillet here that I'm gonna cook my turkey burgers in, but I just wanna add a tiny bit of olive oil to make sure they don't stick. Okay, so in this bowl, I've got my ground turkey, a couple spoonfuls of ricotta, I don't know, maybe 2 to 3 tablespoons, some chopped dill, garlic powder, salt and pepper, and then I've got my pan preheating here. So I'm just gonna mix this up, form it into 3 patties, and cook them until it's cooked through. All right, so my turkey burgers are cooled down. I made like 4 and one was little, and I just ate it and it was really good. Highly recommend that mixture. So I've got some meal prep containers here with the arugula, sprouts, and dill, and some tomatoes. I've been toasting up some walnuts, so I'm gonna add those to the salad, and then I just grab the goat cheese. All right, so I am eating one of these completed salads right now for lunch, and then I'm going to prep the other 2. So we've got our greens in there, turkey burger that I cut up, goat cheese, walnuts, no, not feta, tomatoes, but this is delightful, but I hope you guys try some rendition of it. All right, so next up we're gonna prep some smoked mozzarella pasta salad. If you guys have never had this before, it's actually a pasta salad from a very expensive specialty food store, but it's really easy to recreate at home, and it only comes out to $1.93 per serving, which is way cheaper than you can buy it at in the specialty food store. So I'm gonna be using half a pound of penne, some mayo, I've got 2 cups of spinach leaves, some white wine vinegar, a pinch of cayenne, Parmesan cheese, some garlic and parsley. The recipe calls for smoked mozzarella, but I prefer to use smoked Gouda, and then some roasted red peppers. To my boiling salted water, I'm gonna add half a pound of penne. I don't think I mentioned that I also have a pinch of cayenne pepper, but I do. I'm gonna go ahead and mix my dressing up in the bottom of this bowl. The penne is done, so I'm gonna go ahead and rinse this with cold water. All right, so I mixed up my dressing, and I've got the roasted red peppers in there and the cheese. I'm gonna go ahead and add the penne and mix that up, as well as the spinach. All right, so here's our completed, I guess it's a copycat smoked mozzarella pasta salad with smoked Gouda. This is one batch of the recipe, which I'll have posted down below. I would say this makes 6 servings, obviously less if you want to eat it as a main dish. You could add chicken to it, it would be really good too, but we're just going to use this for lunches for the week. I really can't recommend this recipe enough. It is delightful, and I hope you guys make it. Next up, we're going to do some breakfast sandwiches. So I've got some of the Dave's Killer Bread English muffins. These are super good. Some ham, sharp cheddar cheese. I'm going to make 6 sandwiches, but I wanted to make sure I had enough eggs, so I've got 8 eggs. And then I always like to season, flavor, I guess, my eggs with a little bit of Dijon mustard, and then I'll use salt and pepper, obviously. So a lot of times when I'm batch prepping eggs for breakfast sandwiches, I like to bake them in the oven in a dish, because then I can cut them into squares or rectangles, and it's just a lot easier that way. So I'm gonna put about a teaspoon of salt. I put probably about a teaspoon of Dijon mustard, and then I don't know, half a teaspoon of black pepper, and give this a whisk. I've got a baking dish here. This is a rectangular baking dish, and this is smaller than a 9 by 13. If I had to guess, I'd probably say, I don't know, 8 by 10 maybe. So I put my eggs in there, and next I'm going to use this sharp cheddar cheese. So I'm just gonna go ahead and pop this in the oven. I have my oven preheated to 375. I would say this will probably take about 12 to 15 minutes. We'll check it and see. We just need it cooked through. Okay, so here are my eggs after they baked in the oven. You can actually see that they're ready to come out of the pan very easily. What I normally do is, obviously I'll cut this into 6 pieces because we have 6 English muffins, and if you use a rectangular pan like this, it comes out pretty evenly. Just like that. Ta-da! And I'm gonna go ahead and toast my English muffins. You don't necessarily have to do this, although I recommend it because they do taste better that way, even though you are gonna end up heating these up. I don't know, I just think it makes for a better texture. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and assemble my breakfast sandwiches. So I have some sheets of foil that I'm gonna wrap these in. Now these are obviously super easy to put together because the cheese is already in the egg, so that makes it super simple. And then I'm just gonna take one of these pieces of ham, fold it in half, top it with the lid, whatever, the top, and boom, you got yourself a nice ham, egg, and cheese breakfast sandwich. So you can wrap these in foil or parchment. Obviously, if you want to heat them up in the microwave, you have to remove the foil and wrap them in a paper towel or something like that. But sometimes when I wrap these in foil, I actually like to heat them up in the air fryer. That does a great job. So let me just assemble the rest of these. Here are our prepared ham and cheese and egg breakfast sandwiches. They look delicious. I'm gonna wrap these up in foil and get them in the fridge. All right, I just want to hop in here quick and let you guys know that today's video is sponsored by Helix. I've been working with them for a long time here on my channel, and I can honestly recommend their mattresses because our whole family has been sleeping on them for at least the past 6 months. Adam and I have had our mattress for over a year now, and it's great. You can actually get a mattress customized to fit your needs. You can take a sleep quiz, which is on their website, and even if you sleep with a partner, there's an option to enter your partner's preferences as well, and then the mattress is conveniently shipped to your door. My husband and I actually have a little bit of different sleep preferences, but we were able to find a mattress that we both love, and yes, they even have mattresses for plus size folks. Helix delivers your mattress right to your door with free shipping in the US. The mattress comes rolled up in a box and is super easy to set up. There's also a 100-night sleep trial to test the mattress out and make sure that you love it. Helix mattresses have a 10-year warranty, and they also offer financing options and flexible payment plans. So like I said, now is the perfect time to take advantage of this sale that Helix is having. You can actually get 20% off your Helix mattress, plus you're gonna get 2 free pillows. I'll have the link on the screen right here in text. It'll also be in the description box below. So click on that, go to their website, take the sleep quiz, decide which mattress you're gonna get. I promise it's super easy, no muss, no fuss, comes right to your door. Gone are the days of having to go to the mattress store. That was one of my least favorite tasks in adulthood, I promise. And if you're interested in getting your very own Helix mattress, you can also tap the screen right here. Okay, so we are gonna make some pumpkin cupcakes with cream cheese frosting, and these are just 24 cents per cupcake. So all you need for this recipe is 1 box of cake mix and 1 can of pumpkin. And I remember this from back in the day. I feel like it was like a Weight Watchers hack or something, but you can use any flavor of cake mix. This is really good with like a spice cake mix. Obviously I'm using pumpkin, but I've even done this with a chocolate cake mix before, and you can't even tell you can't even taste the pumpkin in it. Obviously this is going to taste like pumpkin because it's a pumpkin cake mix. But I'm just going to go ahead and mix this up like I normally would, and then you don't need the water, you don't need the oil, you don't need the eggs, none of that. I know it sounds weird, but it really works. All right, so here's the completed batter. I just went ahead and mixed this up like I normally would. Whip it up for, about 2 minutes until it gets nice and fluffy. I'm going to fill up these muffin tins that I lined with some orange liners. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and put these in the oven, 350 degrees for, I don't know, we'll start with like 14 minutes. I never get the full 24 cupcakes that I'm supposed to get. No matter how many times I try, I always get less. I'm probably overfilling them, but whatever. Okay, so my cupcakes are done. They ended up cooking for about 18, 19 minutes. So I've let them cool in the pan for about 5 minutes. I'm just gonna take them out and let them cool the rest of the way on a baking rack. All right, so our cupcakes are cooled and I started frosting them. I love that I was able to get this cream cheese frosting from Misfits Market. Super convenient. Obviously you can make your own cream cheese frosting, but this is honestly almost just as good and super easy. So I'm gonna go ahead and frost the rest of these and get them stored. I'm actually gonna be delivering these to a neighbor later on tonight that requested some baked goods for a funeral visitation. So I thought I would help out with that. But yes, they turned out really, really good. So recommend this recipe, especially if you're looking for a cake mix or cupcakes or a snack cake that has a little bit less calories than traditional. All right, so we're gonna make some homemade granola. It's been a long time since I've made granola, so I'm excited to have this for my yogurt for breakfast throughout the week. I've got 2 cups of rolled oats, some of the Misfits Market odds and ends creamy almond butter, some walnut pieces, dried cranberries, a 1/4 cup of maple syrup, some salt, cinnamon, some flaked coconut, that's optional, and 3 tablespoons of melted butter. Okay, so I totally forgot to mention the cost for this. It's $1.18 per serving. I'm gonna go ahead and mix the wet ingredients together first. Okay, so we're gonna add our oats, coconut, about 1/2 cup of walnuts. We're not gonna add the dried cranberries until this is already cooked because they'll get pretty gooey in the oven. So I'm gonna mix this up and then I'm gonna grab my baking sheet that I lined with parchment paper. Okay, so I'm just gonna put my granola mixture onto the parchment paper. What you wanna do if you want those like crispy clumps is to kind of press this into like a patty or a cake, patty cake. And this is gonna encourage you know, clumping so that you get those nice crunchy pieces of granola. So that looks okay. I've got the oven preheated to 300 degrees. I'm gonna pop this in there for 15 minutes, stir it up, break it apart a little bit, and bake it for 15 more minutes. Okay, so we're at the halfway point of the granola here. I'm just gonna kind of break this into larger pieces like this. And then I'm gonna pop it back in the oven for 15 minutes, but I'm gonna rotate the pan. All right, so here's our granola out of the oven. So when you make granola, it's really important to let it cool before you break it apart or try to store it. The cooling process is what helps make it crispy. And I did taste a little bit of this, it's delicious. So I'm gonna go ahead and pack this up into a container. If you've never made homemade granola before, I really encourage you to try it. It's super easy and it always comes out great. And obviously you can add any mix-ins. In fact, I need to add my dried cranberries to this. But yeah, I'll have this recipe down below. So I got a rotisserie chicken earlier this week and I saved the carcass of it because you can make a delicious chicken stock out of this and then in turn make some type of chicken soup with it. I'm not quite sure what I'm gonna do yet. I haven't thought that far, but I wanted to get this prepped. So I've got my chicken remainder in there. I'm just gonna toss in 2 big chunks of onion. I'm gonna throw in some celery. I've got a clove of garlic. I knew that was gonna happen. What you can do is you can just cut the garlic kind of in half to expose the cloves and put the whole thing in there because we're gonna end up straining this anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And then I'm gonna add this bag of rainbow baby carrots that I need to use up. And since we're really cleaning out the fridge here, I found some thyme and some parsley. You can throw those in there. And then I like to just have a lemon and throw it in there. I think that flavor is really good in chicken broth or chicken soup. And add some peppercorns. I'm totally guessing. If I had to guess, I'd say 1 tablespoon. And then I'm gonna add probably, I don't know, we'll start with 1.5 tablespoons of salt. Can always add more later. Turn on the heat. Do you guys have a favorite burner on the stove, or is it just me? Mine's the front left one. So I'm gonna push all that down in there. And then I really like to simmer mine for at least an hour. What's gonna happen is the vegetables will break down, the flavor will get concentrated, and then all of the extra meat that's on that chicken will fall off, and we can use that in the soup. I'm thinking obviously either chicken rice soup or some type of chicken vegetable soup with pasta. Okay, so it's a little bit later. My stock has cooked. I simmered it down for about 75 minutes and let it cool a little bit. This is my new huge bowl that I got from Amazon. I'll link all of these cooking supplies down below, by the way. This is also a strainer that I'm gonna use to strain the broth, but I was tired of not having a bowl big enough to mix large quantity things, so got this one. So I'm just gonna pour the stock into here. Okay, and then what I like to do is make sure it's all strained out, and then I will put the strainer back on top of the pot. That way I can kind of pick out all the meat, and then this is the delicious chicken stock we were left with. Okay, so we ended up with all of this chicken stock, and then this is the extra chicken that I pulled off of the bones. So this is what we use to make our soup. So I decided I'm gonna make some chicken orzo soup. So I've got some carrots in the bottom of my pot here with a couple tablespoons of butter. I'm just giving those a quick saute before I add my chicken stock back in. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let this come to a boil. Obviously, the carrots are not cooked yet. So I'm gonna let this come to a boil. When it's boiling, I'm gonna add the orzo and then cook that for the recommended amount of time. By then the carrots will be cooked, and then I'll add the chicken at kind of the last minute. Obviously it's already cooked, so I don't want it to get overcooked. I'm gonna add the orzo. Let's see, I think. Trying to decide how much I want to do. I'm going to do 1.5 cups. This is obviously just eyeballing it, but I'm sure it'll be fine. Okay, so the orzo is almost done. I added some white meat chicken to this just so I would have enough. So I'm going to add the chicken. And then this just really needs to heat through. And then I like to taste it, obviously, to make sure it doesn't need any salt. I always feel like when you make a chicken soup, or really any kind of soup, it always needs more seasoning. So we'll just taste it and see what it needs. All right, so I seasoned my soup. You can definitely just use salt and pepper, obviously, but I used some of this Knorr chicken bouillon. You could actually use any chicken bouillon or chicken base. But actually I kind of made this for like a hybrid dinner and meal prep. So we did have this for dinner tonight with some sandwiches, but then I'm also going to have enough to store in the fridge for later in the week as well. Okay, so I actually ended up getting 2 quarts of chicken soup out of those leftovers, so that's pretty awesome. Do I recommend freezing this? The answer is no. You can freeze chicken rice soup and get away with it, but pasta that's in soups like this, if you freeze it and thaw it back out and cook it, it tends to get like really mushy. So yeah, I would not recommend freezing this like this. Now, if you did want to freeze this, what you could do is take out some of the broth and the carrots and the chicken mixture. You could freeze that and then heat it back up later and add the pasta and cook it when you are going to serve it. But that's fine. I'll just put this in the fridge. We'll have it for another meal later this week. We'll have it for lunches. Maybe I'll share one with a neighbor. I don't know. I always find something to do with it. Okay, so I'm going to prep these double dark chocolate muffins. This is the Kodiak Cakes brand that I got from Thrive. They look really good, and I like that they have extra protein in them, especially for like breakfast for the kids during the week. So I have some oil, 2 eggs, milk, and then I'm just going to mix these by hand using my Danish dough whisk, which I will link down below. I got this on Amazon. It is awesome for like muffins and quick breads. Whenever I'm making like muffins or bread or cake or anything like that, I always like to mix my wet ingredients together first so I can get those combined. That way I don't have to overmix the batter. Did you know that doggies can't have chocolate? No. What? 2 eggs. All right, I'm gonna put my mix in. It smells good. Okay, so here's my muffins. I put them in a lined muffin pan. I'm gonna pop these in the oven at 375. All right, so I just took these out of the oven. I feel like they're still a little bit soft in the middle, but that's fine. I'd rather take them out a little bit early and have them continue to cook in the pan for a little bit, because it's really easy to overcook muffins and make them dry, but they smell super delicious. So normally, nope, you stay down, this is hot. Normally I let these sit in the pan for maybe like, I don't know, 5 minutes, and then I'll transfer them to a cooling rack. Okay, I wanted to show you guys the inside of these and tell you how they tasted, because I've never tried them before this. They are so good. I highly recommend this boxed mix. So if you are ordering from Thrive, definitely pick it up. They are super moist, and they also have chocolate chips in them, so it makes it a little bit gooey. And then also, I like that it's not like super sweet, and you also can't taste the extra protein in there. So highly recommend these. I apologize, my son is throwing something upstairs. I have no idea what it is, but I'm gonna eat this muffin. Okay, so I want to prep some shrimp for this week. I'll show you guys how I do this. Essentially, I'm just going to cook it in some seasoned boiling water, shock it in ice water, and then I can use this throughout the week for salads, shrimp cocktail, or spring rolls with rice paper. So I rinsed these shrimp off really well. I always do that with seafood, and sometimes I do it with chicken too. It just depends. If you are looking for great quality seafood, I do highly recommend Thrive Market. I've ordered so much meat and seafood from them: shrimp, halibut, salmon, mahi-mahi. It's all really good. And especially if you're like me and you live in the middle of nowhere, sometimes it's kind of hard to get this stuff. So in this pot, I just have some water with a lemon that I cut up, and it's boiling along with some seafood seasoning. You can use any kind of seafood seasoning you have. If you don't have seafood seasoning, just Google how to make it with a spice mix, and you'll, I'm sure, have most of the spices on hand. So I'm just gonna take the shrimp and add them to the boiling water. And these literally cook in, I mean, usually like 2 to 3 minutes, just until they're opaque. Okay, so this has barely even come back up to a boil, and they're already cooked, as you can see. You definitely don't want to overcook them. So as soon as they curl up and get firm and opaque, take them out. So I have a bowl of ice here. I'm gonna put water on top of it, but I wanted to just throw the shrimp on there first. And I kind of told you guys what I plan on using these for. The shrimp will not take up a ton of that seafood seasoning flavor. In fact, if you really wanted to, you could just use salt, pepper, whatever. I just like the taste of it, and I find that it makes the shrimp a little less bland. Okay, so I added some cold water in there. I'm just gonna let these cool until they're cool. Cool until they're cool. And then I'll drain them and I'll show you how I store them. So I went ahead and drained the shrimp. I like to store them in a container with a paper towel on the bottom just so they stay dry. You can also squeeze some extra lemon juice over them. Okay, so we are going to make some spring rolls. Now, before we get started, I know that some people call these spring rolls, some people call them summer rolls. I'm calling them spring rolls because, as you can see here, these are spring roll wrappers. And we're making these cold kind of salad rolls with shrimp. So first thing that we need to make is the peanut dipping sauce. So I've got a little bit of brown sugar in here. I'm going to add some peanut butter. Most recipes will call for like all natural, unsweetened, blah, 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 whatever peanut butter. I don't really keep that on hand. So I normally just use regular peanut butter and it works out just fine. And then I also need some coconut milk. So I've got half a cup of coconut milk in here, some hoisin sauce, about 3 tablespoons of that, some lime juice. I like a lot of lime in mine, so I'm probably gonna do 2 limes because these are small. And then I'm gonna add just a little bit of sriracha, not too much. You can add as much or as little as you like. And then we're gonna also add our minced garlic. Now, specifically for this peanut sauce, you wanna make it to your taste. So after you mix everything up, go ahead and taste it. If you think it needs more lime juice, more salt, more spice, go ahead and add that. I also typically add some hot water to this because, as you can see, it's very thick when you first mix it up, and you want it to be a little bit more pourable so that you can dip your spring rolls in it. I'm gonna start with about a 1/4 cup of hot water and see if that is about right. So I'm gonna make sure I add all of this garlic, and then I'm gonna add a little bit more sriracha and some more lime juice. So one of the tricks I will use if I want a little bit stronger lime flavoring is to add some zest, which I'm gonna do. Okay, so that's pretty good. I think I'm just gonna add some salt and that will be good to go. I am going to transfer, woo! I am very messy. Okay, I'm gonna transfer this peanut sauce to a jar because this will keep in the fridge for a long time. And if you also toss this with cold noodles, it makes a really good peanut noodle salad as well. So definitely the most time consuming part when you're making spring rolls is prepping everything. Once you get everything prepped, it goes pretty quick. Obviously there are a lot of different veggies that you can include in your cold spring, summer salad rolls, whatever you want to call it. If I'm missing any that you really like, let me know. But I have this kind of divided container here. So what I like to do is mostly cut everything into kind of long, thin strips because we're gonna roll them into the spring rolls, and everything kind of just fits better that way. You can add fresh herbs to these. Today I have some fresh cilantro. I also really like adding mint to them, but I could not find any at the grocery store that I went to this week. I like carrots in mine, but I like purchasing the pre-shredded or matchstick carrots, which is what I did. As far as the protein, you can really mix it up, obviously. I'm using shrimp. I actually just saw on TikTok the other day where someone used salmon and made like a big, I think they called it like a spring roll burrito, where it was like 6 spring roll wrappers, and then they made basically just like what it sounds like, a huge burrito out of it, which I thought sounded super delicious. I know I've seen those advertised before, like sushi burritos. I've never had one. I like these small English cucumbers that I get, especially for this, because it's super easy to cut them into thin strips. There's actually a restaurant around here that has really good spring rolls that I get every so often when we have takeout. They do like a bulgogi beef spring roll, which is actually super duper good. I've never tried that. I like lots of cilantro, but you know, if you don't like cilantro, if it tastes like soap to you, first of all, I'm sorry, because I absolutely love it. But if you don't care for it, you can obviously leave it out, or you can use a different herb. I typically can't find Thai basil around where I live, but if you can find that, that would be really good in here also. And then I've also got some spring mix. You can use romaine lettuce, you can use iceberg lettuce, you can leave out the lettuce. So I have that, my veggies, and then also some green onions, which I think will be good in there. And that's basically it. So I am definitely not a professional at rolling these. In fact, I wouldn't even say I'm that good at it, but you know what? I don't let that stop me. So, okay, rice paper. The other thing I was gonna mention that you can put in these is rice noodles. I was actually going to do that today, but I swear I had some in my pantry and now I can't find them. I like to use a pie plate with just a little bit of water in it. And then I just dunk the rice paper in there. I mean, not even like less than 5 seconds. You don't want to do it too much because it will start to kind of like fall apart on you. So what I do is I put down a little bit of spring mix, some carrots, and then we'll do some onions. And then I like to kind of line up the shrimp so that you can kind of get a little bit in every bite. And pepper, cucumber, and then actually let's start rolling this and then I'll add the cilantro. Can't believe I'm doing this on video because it probably looks ridiculous, but it's fine. It's fine. It's gonna taste good. I do try to roll them up kind of tight, and the wet rice paper will kind of stick to it. So actually, hey, look at that. That's not bad. Okay, I'm gonna plate here. I'm just gonna put these on and I'm gonna go ahead and roll a couple more. All right, so look at this cute little bento box. Fits my little spring rolls perfectly with some peanut dipping sauce and some fruit. Honestly, I think my kids would really like if I made this for their lunch. I'm probably just gonna put it in the fridge. One thing I would say also is that, and look at this little lid. Comes with all your utensils. Also, what I was gonna say is that these are really great for meal prep. They don't hold up in the fridge indefinitely, but probably they'll be good for a couple days. So definitely recommend you make this recipe. All right, so we're gonna prep some buffalo chicken. And these are just 4 thin cut chicken breasts in this dressing that I'm using as marinade. What I did was yesterday, I poured some of this Whole30 buffalo vinaigrette into a dish and I just simply marinated 4 of these chicken breasts in there. I'm gonna go ahead and cook these in the air fryer and then I can spice them up and we'll have them for salads for lunches. Okay, so I got a new air fryer a while back. It's the Ninja, is it the Ninja Foodie air fryer? I'm not sure what it is. Anyway, it has like a temperature probe in it that you can use, but these chicken breasts are so thin that I don't think it's really gonna be that effective. So I think what I'm gonna do is just air fry these at 390. I'm gonna start with 8 minutes and I can always add more time. All right, I apologize if you can hear the air fryer going, but I'm cooking those chicken breasts. And while I'm cooking those, I actually also got some other chicken breasts out of the freezer, and these are just plain. So what I'm thinking I'm gonna do with these is season them with a different seasoning rather than the buffalo. So I have some garlic herb seasoning left over. I don't know what this is left over from, but I'm going to use it on this chicken. So I just sprinkled this with salt and pepper. The seasoning I'm using is salt-free, that's why I added salt. And then I'm also going to cook these in the air fryer after the buffalo ones are done. I've really been trying to focus on eating more protein throughout the day. because I know that it keeps me full, and when I eat empty carbs, it just like, you know, like when you eat empty carbs, you're just hungry like an hour later. So I've really been trying to increase my veggie and my protein intake, and having stuff like this on hand is super helpful. Even though I work from home most of the time when I'm not traveling, I still don't really have a ton of time during the day to be making something super involved for lunch. So even just having chopped up cooked chicken on hand is super helpful to either make like a bowl or a wrap or a salad or something like that. Okay, so these chicken breasts are about half done. What I'm actually gonna do now is drizzle a little bit of buffalo sauce on here, just because I kind of want them glazed with the buffalo sauce. I didn't put a lot on. Okay. And then I'm gonna turn them over.
Mom.
What, honey?
Did you use your own recipe for this muffins?
No, it's a mix.
Everyone, go buy my mom's cookbook.
Okay, I'll put some more on, then I'll cook them the rest of the way. All right, so we've got our 2 types of chicken prepped for the week. We've got buffalo, smells delicious, and then we've got our garlic herb with salt and pepper. Okay, so we are gonna prep some quinoa tabouleh, and I first actually made this a couple weeks ago when I made a salad in a jar video. So I'll link that video down below if you guys haven't seen it yet. It has some great recipes for salads in a jar, and there's a printable included that's free, so you can make them all at home. Great for lunch meal prep. But I loved the quinoa tabouleh that I made so much that I want to make it again. Normally I have made tabouleh with bulgur wheat, but I really liked it with the quinoa, so I got this tricolor quinoa from Thrive Market. I just have 1 cup of it here. I rinsed it with cold water in the sink, and then I have some cucumber, tomato, red onion, some fresh parsley, and fresh mint, and then we'll obviously use lemon juice, salt and pepper. You don't even need any oil for this. I may add some feta cheese to it, I'm not sure yet. So in this saucepan, I just have 2 cups of water. So the ratio is just 2 parts water to 1 part quinoa. And then I'm just gonna bring this to a boil, turn the heat down, and simmer it for about 12 minutes. And just like rice, when the quinoa is finished cooking, you do want to let it sit for a little bit to kind of absorb any of the water, and the rinsing helps it not to stick together. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and chop all my veggies up, and I've just got a bowl here. I'm not quite sure how many tomatoes I'm gonna need. I might only need 1. I need to see obviously how much quinoa I have, and I'm gonna try to cut these into as small of chunks as possible. All right, so we've got all of our veggies in here along with the juice of 2 lemons. I'm just gonna give this a stir. I did end up putting both tomatoes in there. I just kind of wanted to see how many I had before I cut them both up. And then my quinoa is perfectly cooked. So I'm just gonna let this sit here until it cools. Stir it around every so often. I don't want to obviously add it warm to the veggies because we don't want to wilt the veggies. But then we'll stir in the quinoa, give it a taste, and that's it. It's a great meal prep for the week. Okay, so I went ahead and stirred the cooled quinoa into the veggie mixture. Added a little bit of extra salt and pepper. I feel like I could even add more lemon juice, but I'm gonna let it sit in the fridge before I decide to add more. I like a lot of lemon juice, but you know, obviously you can adjust to your taste. And I told you guys about the feta also. So I'm gonna actually leave that separate as well because it's just super easy for me to cut it up and put it on top. But I'm kind of gonna show you how I plan to put this together during the week. Okay, so here are those chicken breasts that I prepped, if you remember. I did 4 buffalo and 4 garlic and herb. So obviously I think that the garlic and herb ones will go really well with this quinoa. And then of course I have my feta. Like I said, I'm not gonna chunk that up yet, but what I'm planning to do is kind of make a bowl out of this. Obviously I don't have to cook it or anything. It'll be super easy during the week. So put a couple of spoonfuls of this into a big bowl, dice up my chicken, put that in there, dice up some feta, put that in there, throw some spring mix in there for a little extra greens, maybe a tiny little bit more lemon juice, salt and pepper, and I think that's gonna be an awesome lunch. Delicious. I'm excited to eat it. Okay, so I'm gonna prep some breakfast sandwiches for the week. I was gonna actually buy some at the store today, and then I thought, you know what, I have all the ingredients for this at home. Adam likes these for breakfast, so I'm gonna go ahead and do 5 of them, 1 for each day for him. So I've got some pork sausage here, some American, I'm just using good old American cheese because I've got a package in the fridge that I want to get used up. I'm using some English muffins, some bagels, these are everything bagels, and then I've got some eggs here as well. Okay, so I finished the sausages and then I just wiped the skillet out so I could fry up the eggs. I was gonna bake these in like a baking dish and then kind of cut it apart into squares, but I figured since I already had the skillet out, it'd be just as easy to use that. All right, so here's how my breakfast sandwiches turned out. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap these up in parchment paper and put them in a big Ziploc bag. I like to wrap them in parchment paper rather than foil because then obviously they're easier to microwave. Here's my breakfast sandwiches done for the week. Boom. Okay, so we're gonna do a baked meatball meal prep because I'm gonna be traveling this week and I'm gonna be home one day before I leave again. And so I figure if I prep this, we'll have an easy meal for that night. So what I've got in my bowl here is, I don't know, about 1.5 pounds of ground beef with 1 egg. I've got some parsley, some Italian seasoning, onion powder, garlic powder, salt, pepper, and then I've got a jar of the Thrive Classic Marinara sauce, which is really good. This recipe, I am using the Thrive Market cookbook as an inspiration or starting point. I'm not going to follow the recipe exactly, but I'm going to show you guys how I prep this for the fridge to eat later in the week. All right, so I'm going to start out by mincing up my parsley, just about 2 tablespoons of that. I feel like I might need to get some new bowls. These are getting a little bit cloudy. Okay, probably about, I don't know, 2 teaspoons maybe of salt, some black pepper. Some meatball recipes call for like grated onion or diced onion. I don't really prefer that texture in my meatballs. I guess grated you could do, but I don't, tell you the truth, I don't really want to mess with it today. So I'm just gonna use some onion powder, some garlic powder. I would say, I don't know, maybe 3/4 teaspoon of each. We'll do, I don't know, teaspoon of Italian seasoning. Then I'm gonna add some grated Parmesan cheese. Sometimes I add breadcrumbs to my meatballs, but to tell you the truth, you don't necessarily really need it per se. I'm gonna leave it out of these and just give this a stir. I find the easiest way to mix up meatballs is with a fork. If you're making a super large batch, you can also do it with a KitchenAid mixer. Okay, so I've got a freezer pan here. I'm just gonna take the meat mixture and, I don't know, probably, I would say this is about 1.5 tablespoons of meatball mix, and roll it into balls and put it into the tray. I've greased the bottom of the tray with just a tiny little bit of olive oil. Most of the time you really don't need it because there's fat in the beef, but just in case. And what I'm going to end up doing is I have my oven set at 375. I want to bake these most of the way through, but I'm also going to be baking them when the time comes to make them during the week. So they will continue to cook at that point as well. Basically, I just want to kind of render some of the fat off of them before we add the sauce. Okay, so these are gonna go into the oven for, I don't know, we'll start with 12 minutes and see how that works. I'm gonna try and use some smoked mozzarella to top these meatballs because I feel like it's gonna be like really delicious and I've never done that before. I've only ever had smoked mozzarella string cheese. So this is gonna be interesting. I think it's gonna be delightful. So I'm gonna thinly slice this, very actually messily. What you can do if you have time or you care more than I do is you can put your mozzarella cheese in, the fresh mozzarella cheese in the freezer for a little bit before you slice or grate it. Okay, here's my meatballs. I drained the fat off. They're not gonna win at beauty contests, so don't enter me for that. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pour that jar of marinara sauce over here. Now, when you serve these, you actually don't even really have to serve them with pasta. I probably will because the kids like it, but like Adam and I could just eat these with a salad and a side of bread or something like that. I'm gonna add my sliced mozzarella over the top. Yeah, I mean, basically now all I have to do is stick this in the fridge, and then when it's time for dinner, I'll probably bake this covered 350, 375 for 20 to 30 minutes just until it's heated through, and we'll have a delicious meatball bake that we can serve with garlic bread or pasta. In today's video, I'm sharing with you guys how I prepped all of this food for our lunches this week in under 1 hour. So I'm starting out with a few freezer meals that I thawed out yesterday. This is a sheet pan shrimp meal and then a sheet pan chicken fajitas meal that I prepped a few weekends ago. I'm going to go ahead and line my baking sheets with parchment paper. This will just help the cleanup a little bit. And then I am going to put the shrimp out on the sheet tray and just spread it out into one layer. Both of these recipes are my recipes and they are available on the Freezer Fit membership. So if you guys haven't joined yet, I will put a link in the description box below. But I've really been loving prepping these items ahead of time. And obviously today it is making my lunch meal prep super easy. But if you don't have these on hand, it's super easy to put these recipes together anyway. Sheet pan meals are obviously very convenient, minimal dishes, and this shrimp tacos recipe turned out really good. I'm actually going to serve it over rice for lunch meal prep this week, but obviously there's multiple things that you could do with it. So I have my oven set to 425 degrees and I'm just going to go ahead and pop that in the oven and it'll cook for about 10 minutes or so. It depends kind of on how big your shrimp is. And then this is the sheet pan fajitas meal that I also put together a couple of weeks ago. This has chicken in it along with seasonings, lime juice, olive oil, and then it's got bell peppers and red onions in it. If you've never made sheet pan chicken fajitas before, they actually turn out really good, especially if you freeze it ahead of time, because I feel like it gives the chicken and the veggies and everything kind of time to marinate together. This one was still a little bit frozen, so I had to just break it apart. And there was a little bit of liquid on there, but that doesn't hurt anything. So I'm also going to go ahead and pop that in with the shrimp. Again, this one will take probably about 15 minutes. It kind of depends on how big your chicken is cut. Okay, so back to our meal prep. To go with the shrimp that I'm making in the oven, I am going to cook some rice. You can obviously serve this however you would like to. The original recipe calls to make it like with shrimp tacos, but I am going to make some rice so that I can meal prep kind of these shrimp shrimp and bean and rice bowls. I'm using my rice washer to rinse my rice off so that it's not so sticky. And then I did get a new larger rice cooker, which I'm going to be using today. I'm going to add a couple cups of water to there, and this is super convenient. I personally think it's a little bit faster than cooking it in the Instant Pot, and I am not very good at cooking rice on the stovetop, so rice cookers are perfect for me. So here's what the shrimp looked like when it came out of the oven. Since I'm meal prepping this, I'm just going to let it cool off a little bit before I pack it into containers. Again, shrimp doesn't take that long to cook, especially at a high temperature. And then here is the chicken fajitas with the peppers. What I'm going to do to kind of finish this off is drizzle it with some lime juice and some fresh chopped cilantro. And then I'm also going to let that cool a little bit before I pack it into containers for lunch meal prep this week. So my rice is still going. I think the key to getting meal prep done really quickly is just to do things in pockets of time. So kind of start with the things that take the most time to cook. And then while those are cooking, you can move on to other things in your meal prep. I'm also going to make some egg salad. That's something that Adam really likes for meal prep. So I'm using my Dash mini egg cooker. This is so convenient for making hard-boiled eggs. You basically punch a hole in the eggs with this little tool that they give you, and then you fill it with water. And these cook really quickly. And honestly, I find that they peel so easily. They peel even more easy than Instant Pot hard-boiled eggs too. So I highly recommend this little machine, and I'll link it down below. So to go with both of the chicken fajita and the shrimp and rice bowl meal preps, I decided I would make some pico de gallo because I had all of the ingredients on hand. In fact, these tomatoes were pretty ripe and needed to be used up. So I cut those up and put them in a meal prep container. And I'm also going to squeeze some lime juice in there as well. I really do like making homemade pico, especially when I'm doing kind of like a Tex-Mex meal prep. I just think that it holds up really well in the fridge, and it's something that adds like a really fresh taste to whatever you reheat. I also added some jalapenos in there that I diced up, some cilantro, red onion, and then seasoned it with salt and pepper, and that is done. Super quick to put together. I'm going to move back over to my eggs, and these are done. I thought I was going to be able to pick them up with my hands, but they're way too hot, so I'm going to use some tongs. And I just have a container here with some ice, so I'm going to put the eggs in there, and then I'll fill that up with cold water and just wait to peel them until they are completely cool. You can see here that my rice is done, so I'm just going to unplug that and let it sit and cool off. I don't like to pack stuff in meal prep containers when it's super hot. I like to let it cool off just a little bit. I'm also going to make some veggie packets with some ranch dip that I picked up at the grocery store. I always like having stuff like this on hand because it's a great snack, obviously like for the afternoon, but it's also a great kind of little snack to throw also in your lunch. If you're having, like a bowl of soup, you can put this on the side, in place of a salad. So I'm just cutting up some bell peppers. I had those in the refrigerator, and then I also had some of these little mini cucumbers in the fridge as well. So I'm just cutting those long ways into kind of spears and then cutting them in half. Sometimes I find that these keep a little bit better in the fridge as opposed to if I cut the cucumbers into coins. But I'm only going to make 4 of these little baggies, and I anticipate that we'll get them eaten up rather quickly. So I also had some baby carrots in the fridge, so I'm putting those in there along with the peppers and the cucumbers. I'm just using Ziploc bags. Obviously, you could use reusable containers if you wanted to, but I wanted to make this super quick and easy because I didn't have a lot of time today. And here are the little baggies with all of my veggies in those. And then if you guys find this Daisy creamy ranch dip, I definitely recommend it. This is new to me. I have never seen it in my grocery stores before. They had a ranch one and a French onion. So far, we've only tried the ranch, but it's really good. It doesn't taste like that kind of like fake prepared dip taste, that you sometimes get with packaged dips. So if you find this in your grocery store, definitely pick it up. But I have these little dressing cup containers. They're super convenient for stuff like this, especially for lunch meal prep. I use them all the time. So I'm just going to throw one of those into each of my little Ziploc bags with my veggies veggies, and boom, we have some veggie snacks for the week. I also wanted to shred up some cheese. This did not take me long at all. Obviously, you could also purchase pre-shredded cheese if that's what you have, or if you have some on hand, but it doesn't take long to shred up cheese either. So I'm just shredding this on a piece of waxed paper because that will help me transfer it to the bowl a little bit easier, or the container a little bit easier. And then I'll stick this in the fridge, and we will use this for both the chicken fajita and the shrimp and rice bowl meal prep. I also wanted to kind of have some beans ready to go with the shrimp and rice bowls. So I'm just rinsing some black beans that I got out of a can. I'm going to season those super simply with some coriander, some cumin, some salt and pepper, and then I'm also going to put some lime juice over those as well. There's really no need to heat these up because obviously when I use them during the week, I'm going to be heating them up with the shrimp and the rice. So it's just a really easy way to prep beans if you want to make like burrito bowls or something like that. I know that it doesn't seem like opening a can of beans would give you a head start, but anything you can do to kind of take time away from your prep during the week, I find really helps a lot. So in these two containers, I'm going to add some of the cooked rice in the bottom of those. And then on top, I'm going to add some of that cooked shrimp. This turned out really good. The seasoning on it was really good. So again, I'm just going to add those to the bowls, and then I will have these for lunch later on throughout the week. For the chicken fajitas, I'm assuming that Adam will probably take these to work. So I'm just going to put some tortillas in some Ziploc bags and kind of have those ready to go. And then I also thought it would be nice to make like a flavored sour cream to go with both the shrimp and rice bowls and the chicken fajitas. You definitely don't have to do this. You can definitely use plain sour cream, but I had a little bit of time and I thought it would be good. So basically I'm just mixing some plain sour cream with some lime zest, some lime juice, and then I also added a little bit of hot sauce in there. You could use sriracha or Cholula or really anything that you have on hand. You could even use taco sauce if you wanted to. And you can also season this with salt and pepper if you'd like to. Just go ahead and taste it and see if you think it needs any. And I just transferred those into some little kind of dip and dressing containers so that we could have those with our lunches. By now, my eggs are cooled off, so you can see kind of really just how easily these peel after they have sat in the cold water. And I really think puncturing them with that little tool that comes with the Dash egg cooker really helps the peels come off just super, super easy. So I like to kind of do this also over a paper towel to kind of soak up any of the water. And then I just give the eggs a rinse after I've peeled them just to make sure that I get any of the shells off. You could definitely prep these for deviled eggs if you wanted to as well. I actually thought about that, but Adam really likes egg salad sandwiches, and so I thought that would be something great to have on hand for him. Rather than dicing up the eggs with a paring knife, I like to use my egg slicer. This is an OXO egg slicer. I love it. I've had it for years. It's my favorite one that I've ever had. So you kind of just put the eggs in one way and then you turn them the other way to dice them up. And once they're in the bowl, I like to season them with a little bit of salt and pepper. And egg salad is really to your taste. So most people add obviously mayo and mustard. You can add dill relish if you want. I actually added some sweet pickles to mine because Adam likes his a little bit sweeter. These are some sweet pickles that I got at the farmer's market a while back. So I am just chopping those up really finely and I'm going to put those in the bowl with the eggs. I added some mayo, some mustard, and then also a little bit of juice from the sweet pickles. I added some salt and some pepper to taste. And then I also added a little spoonful of sugar, maybe just a little less than a teaspoon. Again, you can just, season that to your taste, and you can serve this on lettuce wraps. You can have it with bread, which is probably what we will do. You can also have it on crackers. It holds up really well in the fridge for meal prep.